Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soul Speak, where we talk about just issues that we have in a candid way. And I'm just going to go ahead and say we're going to discuss loneliness today. I don't want to talk about this because it is really raw and deep. But you know what? This might be the best time to talk about it. So here we go. So, but before we do all of that, and thank you again for listening to us. And I am so grateful to have Grace here. I would love for us to just introduce our social media handles so that we're not only doing that at the end of this, this session. So, my Instagram is the Sassy Rachel, and that's mine. You go ahead, Grace.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for every single person who is listening to us today. We welcome you. We welcome you very much. In
Yeah.
regards to my Twitter handles, so my Twitter is at Grace_Kugrena. That's where you can be able to find me. And also on Instagram, my handle is at _reading_hideout. And that's where you can be able to find me there. So check me out.
Okay, awesome, Grace. All right. So getting into this topic that I don't want to talk about, loneliness. So we
Yes.
actually just went ahead and started recording because Grace and I, like, we were really getting into this topic, and it was like, well, we need to just be
Debating back and forth
yeah.
for
We were
sure.
getting we were getting really into it. So we decided, you know what, just hit record. So loneliness. I don't know what type of structure we're going to have here, but you know what? We're just going to talk it out.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about loneliness and connection, like what it means to me and what it means to Grace. So, I was saying, all right, let me try to see if I could explain this.
You go and then I'll go.
Okay. So for me, loneliness is something that I've really been going through that in this pandemic. If I'm honest, and this is what I'm seeking to be honest, but sometimes you think you're being honest, but you're not. So, to the best of my honest recollection, I've always had a sense of loneliness within myself for a myriad of reasons. But right now, it's hitting me more because of the pandemic. There's less that we're able to do, you know. There are activities that I absolutely love. Like right now, if everything was open, I'd be doing an acting class. I'd be doing my salsa dancing class because I love to dance and I love to dance salsa. I have been doing my poetry class, but I'm always in something. And I'd be doing the gym, and the gym does wonders for my mood. Yes, gym is a thing of vanity, on a certain level for me, but like my mood, it really, really helps it. So, without having all of these things, and I will say that they're distractions to a certain extent, but not only distractions. I'm really in the thick of feeling lonely. Other reasons is that I'm really going through some development with myself with mental development. I would say that's with recovery, with food, with coping mechanisms that I've been used to that weren't healthy, that I'm getting out of. So all of this is bringing up some shitty ass, excuse my language, really some shitty ass feeling. So seriously. So all of that, and I am single, and single means usually living by yourself. So I've got all these intense, intense feelings, and I'm having these moods too. So that I would say is kind of like a summary of the loneliness, or the why behind my loneliness. So Grace and I were talking about, what does loneliness mean for me? Loneliness really comes on when I don't feel like I have a deep connection with people, and a connection where I feel like somebody loves me and would basically be my ride or die. I'm
Mm,
used to being the one who provides that for people, you know, for my
mm.
friends, for my siblings, for whatever. So if I feel like I don't have that, that is where my loneliness comes in. But Grace, should we begin what the debate was, or
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
absolutely. We need to give the audience the context of our
okay.
debate and where we
So
were differing.
so I was saying that because Grace has a connection with her family, a strong connection, the feeling of loneliness is not predominant because it's not there. It's filled by connection with family members, or not only family members, because it can't just be like any old family, like people who you connect and you feel like is like-minded and they care about you, not only care about you, but like basically would move the world for
Reliable,
you. Yes,
reliable.
are reliable.
Because you're not gonna, yeah, you're not gonna agree with everything, right?
Right,
No family
right.
is
It's
perfect,
not
right? You're
about
gonna have, yeah, you're
it's
gonna
not
have
about
some
agreement.
family members that you align with more than others, right?
Right, right.
But when push comes to shove, you have people who are dependable, people you can
Yes.
trust, and people who will be there for you.
Right.
What I was saying to Rachel is that I come from a very tight knit family,
Hmm.
and I am the eldest of four kids with a single parent, my mum, who raised us. We are very, very close. Even in our fights, we fight um, quite intensely, but it's always within that group, and we never veer off really anywhere else. And a lot of us don't have, I think it's only my sister who has always grown up with lots of friends. The rest of us, the three of us, my two brothers and I, we are the ones who are much more closed in, not because we've never had friends or we don't want to have friends. I think our priority has always been our family and not everyone outside. But what I've seen with my sister is her friendship group has dwindled throughout the years, where she actually just have um, three girls that she's really close with, and she's been close with for like over 5 years. So that has become her family outside of our family. But even then, she keeps them separate from our family, which is quite interesting as well, because she just doesn't bring anyone around our family. That's another thing as well. You know, that's a separate thing, a separate entity, and our family's a separate entity. By the way, guys, we're not a fam or a cult or anything like that, where no one can come into our family. It's just we're just very much tight knit. So for me, when Rachel was talking about loneliness, I didn't even include my family in that. I was thinking, okay, this is connections made with everyone outside of my family, because I've always felt like, well, you need to make connections with other people, whether it be in relationships or friendship groups or wherever you go outside of the family. That's where your loneliness will derive from if you can't make those connections. That's how I saw it, right?
Hmm.
But Rachel was basically saying, if I didn't have the strong connection with my family from the beginning, I would then suffer from the same thing. I would yearn for more connections,
Yeah,
right? Is that what you were
because
saying?
every human being requires connection. Every
And I basically was
we
saying,
are
no, I
made
hate
this
people.
way. Yeah. We
I was
are
basically saying I hate
made.
people and I don't want to make connections with anyone and I don't desire to, because it's true, right? I'm very, it's not just about being very selective. I struggle with people, and I think I've mentioned this to Rachel. Maybe I've mentioned it to Rachel and
I
not the
think
rest
you
of the people
said
on
it
the
also
podcast.
on the show. I think
I
I don't
don't know if I
know.
did. What's
Well,
making me laugh?
I definitely know for sure.
Rachel for sure knows. But because, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, because I'm trying to go back and forth. I don't know if I've
Uh-huh.
said it to
Yeah,
Rachel or said
because
it
we
to the people on
talk
the
so
podcast.
much. Now, we really talk a
So
lot with
much.
each other, guys. We really do. But sometimes, because it's, and especially as the show goes on, the conversations that we have on the show are now starting to feel like the conversations that we have personally with each other. This is, so it's, we're not able to differentiate the two. Like, when did we have this conversation? Was this on air, quote unquote, or was this just you and I? So, but that really
But
does
we did
also
have a
show
conversation.
the chemistry we have with each other. I love talking to
Absolutely.
Grace. I
And
love
the
talking to Grace.
honesty,
Oh
literally,
my
the honesty
God.
that we have in every
Yeah.
single conversation that we have. But I
Yeah.
know for sure that I've spoken to Rachel about how I struggle with people, not because, you know, I think it comes from more of the inability to trust people. I think that's what it is. The inability to trust people and the lack of patience to deal with people, which I feel Rachel has. Rachel is a people person. I, on the other
Mm.
hand, I feel like a socialite, but as soon as I walk indoors, I close my door, I close my windows. Don't call me, don't text me, don't message me. I don't exist. Right? Um,
So I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm doing it anyway, Grace. Not to be rude or anything,
no, 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 go for it.
but that trust to me is where loneliness would come outside of I can't even say outside of family because there's family members you can trust and there's family
Yeah.
members that you can't. So
Yes.
when you have a relationship with somebody, and I'm talking about like a close relationship, trust is, if not the
It's
number one
key.
thing, I don't know what's above trust.
Literally, it's
So,
key.
like when you're looking to be in connection with another person, that's one of the biggest things that you're looking for. And it's not easy, nor should it be. That's not something that, in my opinion, you should think, hey, you meet somebody, you trust them. Nah, trust is
Mm-hmm.
earned. So,
Mm-hmm.
navigating through that and in relationships with others, that is a big aspect of loneliness because there are people out there. People are out there. It's not so me. Am I a people person? I like people. I do like
You are
people a lot.
such a
I
people person.
really like people. Do I think people can be douchebags? Yes. I do people think people can be douchebags.
Yes,
But
for
I
sure.
think the reason why I give everybody a chance I I think of because of how I think of myself. So I'm a
In what
trustworthy
way?
person. I'm a trustworthy person. I mean well for people. I like
Yeah,
people. So I'm
yeah.
expecting this to a certain extent of others. So
And
I
when
think
you don't get it,
okay, so we're skipping ahead now. So
okay.
I think that is where my people personness comes from because I am genuinely, I know I'm a good person, so I'm looking to connect with another good person, so I give every
Okay.
person a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And I think on on a surface level or not a deep level, you can
Mm-hmm.
have great conversations with people, you can
Mm-hmm.
have great interactions with people. It's when
Mm-hmm.
you go beneath the surface. So people
Yes.
person on the surface level, to me, that's not hard.
Yeah,
And
we all are.
uh, uh,
Surface level, we all are people.
so that's what I'm saying. For me, that's where the people person comes from.
Okay.
It's not
The
when
deeper
it's
connections.
deeper because
Okay.
I require the type of person that I am. Man, this is why I love Grace because I we can talk about not damn near. We can talk about anything and we
Everything.
analyze the
Out
crap
of
out of it.
everything.
So we will talk about it and we're both curious, we're in exploration mode, we're wondering, we're coming up with conclusions. For the most part we agree. There are times when we don't. And when
Yep,
we don't agree, we have opinions about, like, to me those are components of a good relationship.
for
Also,
sure.
if something is bothering me or if something is bothering Grace, we go into, like, we care about that
Yeah,
about each other,
deeply,
and we will
deeply.
offer what it is that has worked for us. And I also don't feel like there's a like a judgmentalness. There's no judgmental where,
Absolutely.
because I can't do that. I can't
I don't
be
think
in
we both have the
relationships
patience
like
for
that.
that.
Yeah, nah. So I feel like we can come together and have a conversation that is open and honest and know that the other person cares. That's,
Mm,
like, for me, those are the things that are important. So
mm,
my loneliness, it does not come from, and this was another part of our debate, it's not being around people or people being there. I can talk to people. It's not
Mhm.
to do with that. And I don't care to just be around any type of person. Like,
Mhm.
to me, I am the epitome of a person who can be in a crowd and be lonely. I have been that person because
Wow.
while I can have a conversation, I'm not just going to have a conversation for the sake of it.
For the sake
Like,
of it. Yeah.
it's so for me, that's where the loneliness comes from, because I'm not looking for any relationships. I'm looking for quality relationships. And I
Wow.
think if it's not something, so, and I'm going to go a little bit all over the place.
Okay.
Hopefully you're able to follow me. If not, Grace, rein a sister in, okay?
Go for it.
So my family, let's see, my family is a matriarch headed by my mother. My mother
Mhm.
is not a nurturing person. Now, this is not to bash my mother in any way, because I do
Mhm.
love her. We have
Mhm.
had an incredibly difficult relationship, and I would say that has to do with things that in her past that she was not able to basically get past, and
Mhm.
how it is that she looks at me, and our siblings. But there's a lot to do. I'm a firstborn. Man, we carry the torch
The
for,
burden, the torch,
man,
everything.
son. We're the first experiment. We're the
Responsibilities.
first. Oh my God. So there is a how do I call it, a not dichotomy, there is a type of relationship there that is unique, that my brother, sorry, and sisters do not have to go through where my mother is concerned. So
Mhm.
in that sense, my mother, we've never had like a nurturing daughter mother thing, never. So that within itself
Mhm.
it creates a core, like not a core, but like a whole, because
Okay.
your mother is that's a very important relationship. So I
Yeah.
don't have that. So there's
Mhm.
there's the that. And that's
Mhm.
something that's still a struggle, and at this point in my life I'm not pursuing it. So
Okay.
my siblings then were to me what was everything, because I didn't want them to go through the things that I went through. I felt like I had a purpose, with them, to make sure that not only that they didn't go through what I went through, but we were able to create something close. And
Mhm.
so I think I have a history of wanting a relationship and making it happen based on what it is that I wanted. So I would say that. So my relationships with my siblings were close in the past. They were very close. My brother and he's my first best friend. Absolutely.
Wow.
Whenever he and I talk, oh my God, we talk for hours on end and we analyze, and that's a very close relationship. But because of the type of person my mother is, we never, and actually I wouldn't say the type of person that she is, the dynamic that my family has had, it's not one that's close. So that has set the pattern for everybody. It's not something where I talk with my mother all the time. I don't talk. There was a time I didn't talk to my mother for 7 years. So
Wow.
it's that type of thing where, like, my siblings, they say to themselves, my sister and I used to talk more often,
Mhm.
but there's something that has happened in that area. And my brother, though when we talk it's great and it's gotten so much better, there was a time where he was also missing from action. So this used to be my core, this would be my core people where
Yeah.
I felt connection with, and that right now is
Mhm.
frayed, you know
Mhm.
so and I was at one time married. So these would be the main close, strong relationships. And what happens then when you don't have that core? Because, in my opinion, we all need connection.
Mm.
And so when Grace was saying, she hasn't felt the need, from other
Mhm.
people, I'm like, I get it, because
Mhm.
you have it, because
Mhm.
everybody, in my opinion, is made with the need for connection. But if
Mm,
if you have it from whatever um um the source is, then it's filled. It's
yeah.
not like
And that's what you will hold on to also. That's just
exactly,
the antidote I want to
exactly.
add.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be searching for anything else. For me, anyway,
Exactly,
I have felt
exactly.
like I'm not searching or looking or care to or
Right.
had the desire
Because
to
you're
make connections
full.
with people outside of my family. And a lot of the times it looks as if I'm lonely, but I'm not. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
what I was trying to convey with to Rachel was I can literally be living in my own bubble by myself, no friend in sight, and I still don't have the desire. I can travel on my own. I can go to restaurants on my own, dinner on my own, movies on my own. I can do all of these different things on my own and not feel the need to have a group of friends or a bunch of people to go with me. I'm comfortable just doing these things as is. And what she was basically saying is like, it's because you have that foundation. And I've never seen it like that
Right.
because it's not like I'm doing these things with my family either, right?
Right. Right.
um, but I do agree with you in regards to fundamental relationships with family members, because I remember um, even in my home, I grew up sharing a room with my sister. So that was an experience, a bonding experience for us, whether we liked each other or not,
Right.
because we're forced to be in the same space. Eventually, we just figure out how the other person works and you manage, and then you find the similarities. And obviously, me and my sister get on like a house on fire. We just naturally do get on, but you have moments where you just argue and fight over clothes, makeup, girly stuff, right? And growing up not having anything, growing up poor, that bonds people together, believe it or not, because we didn't have the capability of just going out whenever we wanted, having pocket money and doing whatever it is that we wanted to do, like all the other kids. We would be in the house, and in the house means we will have to converse with one another. When the electricity will go and we didn't have any TV to watch, we would tell
Wow.
stories, we would tell
Wow.
jokes. These are the things that happened to us. So there were so many different elements of childhood in our lives that was happening that we didn't see it as a bonding experience. We saw it as an inconvenience. Oh my gosh, mum hasn't paid the electricity bill. Oh my gosh, we don't have bread. We don't have this. We don't have that. But in those moments, that's where we laughed the most. That's where we joked the most. That's where we spent time together the most, right? Because we didn't have any other option. And that's why I think our foundation is so tight knit, because we've experienced all of these things together. We've overcome all of these things together. And we have been the only people there for one another during those
Right.
times.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, so I get that element of it. However, these are still not the people that I'm going to the movies with, traveling with, or doing
Right.
anything else with that will pertain to building a connection with someone.
See, but okay, so my head went in so many directions. Let me try to get things out.
Sorry about that.
No, no, that was great. What's the first thing I want to say? Just being around people doesn't mean that your loneliness will evaporate. And that's
Yeah.
something that I think is important to elaborate on. For me, just being around any old body doesn't take care of me
Mm,
feeling fulfilled. Now, my feeling of fulfillment must come from self. There is an aspect of that, but the part of me that needs connection is not filled by anything or anyone.
mm,
So where loneliness, where, some people look at it as, like hanging around people or being around a group of friends or going to someone to the movies with or go, that's not the only aspect of loneliness for me. Because
mm,
I was telling Grace earlier, I would choose to be alone if I had to choose between that and being around a group of fake people, clicky
mm,
people,
mm.
condescending people, rude
Yo,
people. Like, I don't do
speak on
those
it.
types of relationships. So for me, I would choose to be alone. And I don't think loneliness only has to do with a sense of desperation. Now, let me say this other thing. I think loneliness has a negative connotation to it, and I don't like that.
Okay.
Loneliness to me has a like a lot of people take it on as a like it's bad and you don't have anybody and you're desperate and to me,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me stops a lot of people from talking about being lonely. I think everybody, whether they're honest or not, has the capability of being lonely and has been lonely. um and that is something that is okay. Nothing is wrong with you because you have been lonely, you felt lonely. It's been a month, it's been weeks, it's been years. I think all of those things, it's okay to have that feeling, because honestly, that's a part of why I didn't want to talk about loneliness, because I think there's such a negative connotation. But then what happens when you are lonely? Where do you go then to understand and get past it if there's such a negative thing to it?
Mm-hmm.
You can be lonely. There are so many different types of circumstances that get you there. um there is the single lonely person who's never been a part of a couple. There is the lonely of someone who was married and now they're divorced. There is the
Mm-hmm.
lonely of somebody who's in a couple, a part of a couple, but their partner doesn't understand them. There is
Mm-hmm.
also that you can have that in a marriage. There's a lonely of parents who, they had kids at home and now the kids are gone. There's a lonely
Mm-hmm.
of a spouse that died or friends that died. There's all types of loneliness. There is no reason why that's not something, because we desire connection and we are created that way. So if we're not
Mm-hmm.
getting the connection, there's gonna be a void, and you're gonna want to fill that damn void
Mm-hmm.
with whatever. But for me, I have things that I like to do with my life. So loneliness doesn't mean not doing anything. It doesn't mean like, oh, crying all day or something. But sometimes I do want to cry all day, but that's for a whole bunch of reasons. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the desire to know that I have someone or people in my corner that have my back, yo, and they care about me, and it's not me always having to do something for them. They checking in on me, and if something is wrong, they're worried, and they'll try to move heaven and earth to do something for me that I desire. Those are things that when I feel lonely, I feel like I don't have that.
Wow.
So um that was a whole heck of a mouthful. So, you got anything, Grace? Man, I went on and
I
on.
no, this is
Feel
true
free
to
to ask
life. This is
questions. I ain't never
for
talked
me,
about it in this depth before, so I feel
but
very
it's
vulnerable
good.
right now. Go ahead.
No, it's true to life. It's absolutely true to life. And I get those aspects of still being around people and still feeling lonely. I
Mhm.
understand that. My whole theory behind it was, and my opposition to what you were saying was more of that desiring, that feeling of desiring something. Um, and I've never felt or don't feel. And the little caveat that I wanted to add to that was I think my personal experiences with people outside of my family made me revolt, as in literally, that's a
I'm
strong word,
good.
but I'm gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you wanted to just regurgitate everybody, and that's just, I, like you said, I'm good, I don't need it, right? I feel like that's where my judgment comes from. And again, I don't know whether Rachel said this during the podcast or off air.
Yeah.
But you were saying something about um, you treating people how you see yourself, right? You're
Yeah.
saying you're a trustworthy person and you like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And I even said to you, and what about when you don't get that? And you said we're going far ahead, right?
Uh-huh.
But for me, that's the key. That's the key to that. I know I'm a good person, but I also know that you can be trash. And me giving you the benefit of the doubt doesn't mean anything to me. And the reason why is because I've lived it. I feel like I've lived 1,000 lives giving people the benefit of the doubt and
Mm,
it not working out on my behalf. Does that
mm,
mean that I'm a bad person? Absolutely not. Does that mean that you're a bad person? Absolutely not. But based on my history and based on what I've seen and what I've detected, there's a lot of things that I can smell from a mile away that I don't need to get myself involved in.
agreed.
And that's how I see these different things. And I think we touched upon this the last podcast, um, in regards to relationships and friendships. And I think Rachel was basically saying it was more difficult for her, in regards to her relationships, on, giving everything that she had and staying too long in circumstances that weren't beneficial or just good for her mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in every single aspect.
Right. In the
Um,
past. Yep.
in the past. But she was great at detecting who would be a great friend and who wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be a great friend.
All
And
right.
she was able to cut the cord from the get-go as soon as
Son.
she suspected
I
someone.
don't play
And
that.
I told the most ridiculous story last week about not being able to detect or even know who is right for me as a friend and who isn't. But I could smell a douchebag from a mile away. You're not going to date me because I know exactly who you are and what you're all about. So it was kind of a reversed thing that we both had going on.
Right.
So I'm going to touch upon that again because based on my history and all the lessons I've learned and everything that I've been through and all the hardships, for me now, it's almost like it's left a bad taste in my mouth where it's like, I'm not even looking. If I find a good friend, praise God,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all up for it. But the desire, the connection, and it's not just about friendships, it's just everyone. The desire and the yearning and, all of these different things isn't there. That's just how I feel. It isn't there. When I leave my house, I'm by myself. When I go back home, I'm by myself. And again, Rachel touched upon the fact that I have I'm married and I have a very tight knit relationship with my husband. And we've always been like that. And my husband and I are very similar to Rachel and I, where all we do is talk and share and divulge. And I feel like we've closed down restaurants ever since we've met till this day, because all we do is talk and get kicked out of places, right? And you can really see how the foundations of all of these relationships are built, whether it be myself or Rachel, whether it be my siblings and I, whether it be my husband and I. There's a really good foundation there of
Right.
trust, understanding, openness, and no judgment, right? And really wanting to grow with someone and offering all that you can to someone, not because
Right.
you're expecting something back, but because you truly care.
Right. And you're learning
Very-
and teaching at the same time in every one of our conversations.
Exactly.
We're learning and teaching.
Exactly.
It doesn't depend on who asked for the advice either, because the other person will then drop some knowledge and you're like, oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm telling you. So it's very difficult for me. Like, I'm getting it now, what you're saying, Rachel, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But it's very difficult for me to really openly put myself out there and beyond the surface level, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
um, to make connections with people because I don't have the desire to. And I think you're probably right in regards to my family playing a big part in that.
Yeah. If I
Yeah.
didn't have if I didn't have this disruption going on with my siblings, I would say with my marriage, I had a great aspect where we talked and we analyzed a lot, but there were other things that weren't there. But if those all
Mm.
things were there, I would not have no desire to have deep relationships. But if you're not having it,
Hmm.
we are built to have it. So you're gonna, like, say for you and your husband, why go out there and look for a guy before, you know what I mean? Like when you were
Hmm.
dating, why go out and look for that before? You're not looking
Yeah.
for it now because you're married and
No.
whatever. But
Yeah.
if you didn't, you'd be looking for it because that's what
Yeah.
you desire. So
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, go ahead.
So in this context, the connection that you're looking for,
Hmm.
what does it look like and who is it coming in the form of? Is
See,
it a
this is,
friend? Is
I
it a
thought I
lover? Is it
answered
a partner?
that. I thought I answered that, but
No, no, you
so
didn't.
for me, this is that's a great question because I thought about it like a couple of weeks ago. My connection
So you
is
just didn't tell
not.
us.
No, seriously. Because I thought in the past that it's just a connection that I wanted with a lover. It's not. Because I thought to myself, I said, you know, love is important to me. So detrimentally important to me. And it
Hmm.
has been since I was a kid because I've experienced a lot of neglect in
Mm.
my past. I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I would like to foster children because I've been a foster kid.
Oh, that's
Yes.
really amazing.
And I said, and when I swear to God, when I thought about it, I had the same reaction you just.
Oh my gosh.
I was
You've
like,
literally been surprising me all day today. Like you're saying the most
oh,
craziest things.
I was like,
Like, wow.
oh, that's really deep. Because I would like to be the type of foster parent that I would have liked. I wouldn't say that I had terrible experiences in foster care. I actually did not have terrible experiences. I had a bad experience as far as being introduced to foster care because it was a shock to my system. It really
Yeah,
really was to come out of your
yeah,
home and not have this
yeah.
expectation and I went into a group home first. All of that just
Like,
jarred me mentally and psychologically, jarred me. But as far as it being a terrible experience, I actually, there were these group of girls who tried to bully me. And I wish I could remember who this girl was. I call her my angel. Like,
why?
she saved me. She was older and she saved me from these bully
What
girls
was they
because I
trying to
was
bully you
youngest. I
for?
was 8 years old and these girls were older, but I had a person who I didn't know. Like, she saved me from these bullies.
Real.
So I had a protector in foster care. Not in foster care, in the group home. So I would say that was my main negative experience. But I've had decent, I went to two foster homes, so I didn't have to go from, many. And the only
Mhm.
reason I went to the other, my first foster mother, oh, she was amazing. She was absolutely amazing. She cared for me like, oh my God. Oh my
Can
God.
I ask a question?
Yeah,
Sorry
go
to
ahead.
interrupt.
No, it's okay.
You
I just
said
went on a whole other thing, but
you
how
said
did we get here?
about we got here because I was asking you what form is
Uh-huh.
that connection
Uh-huh.
coming from, I think. But you said something quite important. You
Hmm.
basically said how I would love to be the type of foster parent that I would have liked,
Yes.
but you didn't say anything about your mum. And I know that you and your mum don't have the greatest relationship, but
Correct. It's not a good relationship.
I would have thought you would say something to the effect of, I would like to have been the parent that my mum wasn't.
I think I would say
You know
that
what I mean?
if it was about a child that I was birthing myself. I think that's when I
But
would say
what's the difference
I would
between a
be
foster child and a child that you've birthed?
because we're
Because
talking we're talking about foster parenting. So I'm thinking about it in the terms of the foster parents that I had, so I'm thinking
but you can
about
switch up the game. You
and
can
it
do
would be
this your
it would
way, right?
essentially be that. It would be that, but I'm just thinking of it right now just in the context
Yeah.
of foster.
Okay.
But I would be this person, this child would be my child, and yes, I would take care of that child like my own,
Wow.
and be the type of parent that I would have wanted. I just didn't like, I wasn't thinking of it in that terms yet, because this I
I
was
guess.
defining it within the context of the relationship, because you were asking me what form would this
Mm-hmm,
connection come in. And
mm-hmm.
so I thought about being a foster parent. I was like, wow. And for me, that even the thought of it filled something within me. So
Wow.
my
That's
connections, that's
deep.
it's huge. So
It's
my
deep.
connection is not only having to do with a husband or a lover or something like that. It has to do with children knowing that they're loved, because I was a child who wanted to know I was loved and I did not feel that. So it comes from that. So I would love to see it come in form of that. Um also in relationships. So I have this great relationship with you, Grace. And
Yeah.
I really, how could I say? I have recognized the types of friendships that I am entertaining in my life are
Mhm.
they are deep. They are not many, but they are deep. They are with open people who are openly caring, and it is wonderful to see. They're new, so there is a level of history. I don't know if I'm going to get this out right. It's almost like with, like, say, a relationship like yours and mine, Grace.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what it'll be like in a couple of years. Because to me,
Yo.
that'll be so much deeper. But like when
Yeah.
you're embarking upon a new relationship, and though it's beautiful and deep and nice, the history isn't there of, oh man, like, and that we also have distance where it's like I can't just drop over at your house or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
those aspects of it that are, what I say, it's like missing for me. It's
Yeah.
still a beautiful relationship, and there are people that I'm next to I don't have that type of relationship with, so it doesn't take
Mhm.
away from it at all. But
Yeah.
there's like a history, or I wouldn't say a comfort, just a maybe the distance that's missing,
Mhm.
where it's like I can reach out and touch the person, and if something happened to me, you would be able to be here, or I would be able to be there for you, because that's the type
Yeah.
of friend that I am. So that
For
there
sure.
are those aspects for me that are missing, and it's new. So
Mhm.
I would say I want those parts of it too. But the new relationships that I have created, and this is something that I need to pay attention to, I have those. I do have the closeness. I do like have
Yeah.
another friend where we can, if I feel bad, I can call her. When she feels bad, we
Yeah.
call each other. I go over to her home. So these are
Yeah.
relationships that I am growing. So I need
Yeah.
to pay attention to that.
Mhm.
But it's almost like I still want more. I want more.
Yeah.
I want more,
Yeah.
because these are all new. Um,
Yeah.
okay. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Because there's something else I want to say. But I've said a lot, so I just
No.
want to give the space.
No, go for it because you've answered my question because essentially that's what I wanted to know. Like, what is it in particular that you want for yourself? And you've
I want
detailed everything.
I want I want a, like, caring. I want like a deep level of caring. I
Mm,
do want it in a sense with a husband. I do want
mm,
it with a child. It doesn't have to be my child, but I almost feel like whatever relationship that I have, I want there to
mhm.
be a, I'm deeply giving of myself, and that person is deeply giving of
Deeply giving of
themselves.
them. Yeah,
Because in the
yeah.
past, I've been deeply giving of myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I have not been on the receiving end of that. And I want
Mm,
that,
mm.
in every capacity. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
it's not a thing where it's just with the man, but there's nothing wrong with that. I want to say that if it was in the sense of you want a deep relationship with a husband or a wife, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that either. I just feel like
There
there's
isn't.
such a negative thing to when people say they're lonely. It's like you shouldn't be lonely. Damn it, we're
But this is
created like that.
no, I totally understand you because for me, my limitation of connection has always been friendships. That's what I've always, interpreted it as, or, nothing
Mm-hmm.
else. Because for me, even before I got married, I think I talked about this in a couple of episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
I I wasn't really trusting of men. I wasn't really
Yes.
trusting of men. I didn't grow up with my father. I never met my biological father till this day.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that I cared much for because there was no trust there. And trust is
Right.
now at the core of this conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when there's no trust for me, I'm switched off. I don't care.
Can't do
Don't
it.
invite me.
Yeah.
Can't do it, right? But so that's what I found was the issue for me, where it was like, whether I had a boyfriend or not, I didn't care. Whether I was desired by other men or not, I didn't care, because for me it was just like, men are trash. I didn't
Mm.
see the need for them as a outside of their reproductive organs. For me, it
Damn.
was like, you
Use.
have no value. You no
So how did
use.
you get around that then? Because you
For
are now
me,
married and
bro, I'm telling you, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Um, for me, it was more about, my desire for men was there, don't get me wrong, but it was very promiscuous. It
Okay.
was, for me, it was just, you do what you need to do and that's it. Like, I was so detached from those kind of things, where I and for a long time my reputation was very much where, I'm not a jealous person. I've never been a jealous person in relationships. I've never been a jealous person in friendships. I'm just not that kind of person. And when I'm talking about jealousy, I'm not talking about the generic feeling of jealousy, like you're jealous of someone's hair or whatever. I'm talking about being in a relationship and being jealous that someone else is giving someone else attention or acting in a certain way, making you feel a certain way. I've never been that person, but I've always attracted those kind of guys and those kind of
Mm.
men. And for me, because it was so easy to be detached,
Mm.
I would have men get mad at me for not being jealous, right?
Mm.
And start fights with me for not being jealous. Or they would try and set me up so that I can be jealous, and it would just backfire. I've just never been that person. And I never took it seriously when I was called up on it. Hey, you need to be more affectionate. You need to be more loving. You need to be all these things. No, I don't. Because my
But those are
affection and
different
my,
different things though, jealousy and affection.
not just that though, like both of those things I wasn't
Okay.
doing. Do
Okay.
you know what I mean? Because for me, my affection went to my family. My affection went to the people who I could
Mm.
trust, right? And
Mm.
again, it comes to that core of, I've got my base. I've got the thing that sustains me. I don't need you. I'm here, but that's that. And what changed is another stupid story. What changed is I got to university and there was this guy that I liked physically, and I couldn't suss him out. I really couldn't suss him out. And there was all this mind games and all that stuff. And I fell hard for this guy who was a joke. But this is the same person who taught me so well to the point where it's like, I can smell a douchebag from a mile away. And I think
Mm.
that was the first time when I think I got my heart broken, where it was
Mm.
literally just like, oh my gosh. And it was something unobtainable, something that I couldn't grasp or get. Not because they were a good guy, they weren't, they were trash. They were absolutely a horrible, horrible person. But in my mind at the time, being so young, it was like there was something I couldn't obtain, something I couldn't get,
So you
right?
wanted it.
And yeah. And it wasn't like I wanted it because I wanted a deep connection. It's because I was denied it that I wanted it even more. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean?
Mm.
And when I finally got over that, that's when I was able to learn, like, maybe I do want relationships then. Maybe I do want to be with someone.
Well, yeah.
And that's what really softened me up. And from then, me being the egotistical, insane person I am, I basically just stopped dating for 6 whole years. And I literally started to look from within. What is it that I want? What is it that I want to do? Um, who is it that I want? Who am I? Um, so I took I took 6 years off from dating. I retired. I retired my dating
You did a
career.
Michael Jordan. You went into early
Oh,
retirement.
early retirement. I literally hanged everything up. I'm like, I'm done. Wash my hands, and I went to play baseball.
What exactly is baseball in this situation?
I don't know. I think it's just like rediscovering yourself. I think that's what it was,
Yes.
and really taking the time to be by myself. Not in a sense where it's like I needed to be alone, but be with myself in a sense where it's like I need to know what is it that I'm looking for. I need to
Right.
know where is it that I'm going, so that I'm not just prepared for the next guy, but I'm prepared within myself,
Right.
with or without a guy. And 6 years later, I started a new job and I met my husband at my new job. And I didn't know he was my husband at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
wasn't looking for a husband. I was
Right.
just living life, right?
Right.
But that moment really taught me a massive lesson because it broke me, like, and I've never been broken in,
Wow.
like, I was going around breaking hearts left, right, and center. But in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, my
It's
life
me
is
this
over.
time.
Literally, it's me this time. So that's how I was able to get over the whole man thing and the ideas of I I I need to find connections with men or whatever it is. This is prior my marriage. Like,
Right.
for me, it was never there. And when it was there, I couldn't, maybe it was my karma. I couldn't get it when I wanted it. I couldn't sire it and click my fingers and say, this is what I want. I'm going to have it now. It just wasn't happening like that. And only when I couldn't have it, that's when I realized maybe I do want it. I don't know.
Mm,
Do you know what I
mm,
mean? Life is so
hmm.
twisted,
I
right?
do, because I know we're created, God, there are many people in this world. We're here for one another for a reason, like
Yeah.
it's not a bunch of us for no reason. Like we
Mm,
fulfill certain things within each other. There's
mm,
certain things that when you, like, no man or woman is an island.
mm.
Literally, you thinking you can do everything on your own in this world, that's not realistic, and it's not going to happen. Even
I
if
used to believe that.
I know
I
people
really
do, and it's not true. Because even like with your something simple as you doing your book, you said
did.
your sister helped you publish it, because
Yeah.
so even with that, then you put it on Amazon. People have to buy it.
Hmm.
People in every situation, we need people. We need,
Yeah.
okay, food. The farmer has to grow it. Has to
Hmm.
raise the animals. You have to go to the
Hmm.
supermarket. There's a cashier that helps you. There's no situation that you don't need people. I'm talking about need. Now, is it every type of person that you need? Hell to the no. I'm not going to say that, like in your personal close life, but I'm just
Yeah.
demonstrating that we need people. So when there's like this whole, I can do everything on my own, you're not being realistic, because that is not how life is created. You can't even be born on your own. You can't be made on your own. There ain't nothing you could do on your own. Literally
But
nothing.
it feels like it.
It
Stop
is a
ruining my
lie.
parade.
It's a lie.
You're
There's no,
literally
there's
raining my
nothing,
parade.
nothing you can do on your own. Nothing.
Yeah,
There's nothing. Nor
but
should
I
you
can.
try. It's a protective mechanism, which I understand,
Yeah.
so that's when these hard ass learning lessons come in, and your douchebagorama is like mad tight, just like I think my douchebagorama is tight now.
Yo.
And my friendship radar, that joint is tight. That's why I'm lonely and I'm getting like close friends as I'm coming to age 40, because I'm like, nah, son, I really have fleshed out some really not decent folks. So
Yeah.
rather than just have people in my life, because I did that when I was younger, that's a no go. Just to have, just people just for, the volume or the
Mm.
population of people in your life. You will ruin your life that way. But it's not to be mistaken with not having people in your life or not needing. So I get that it's a protective mechanism, but it's also
Yeah.
false. It's false. Um,
I don't know, man. I don't know if I can change. I think I'm too old to change.
but
I'm
you're
stuck in my
not
ways.
alone.
I'm
You
too
got your
old.
family, you got your husband, you have friends. So you
Mm.
have, your situation is, I would say, different. I wouldn't say you don't have the loneliness thing going on because you've got a strong foundation, but
Mm.
maybe I don't know if you definitely need other relationships to do what it is that you're wanting to accomplish in the world. Um,
Yeah.
but I would say that's different from a loneliness. Like you don't need to go out there looking for no best friend or nothing. And for
No.
me, I'm like, I know what I want. I have to patiently wait on God to get it. But that joint is, it is to be patient. It can be painful because what it is that I do want is not coming in a time that I would like it to,
I
which was
would.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even like getting a foster kid, that's a process. and I
Oh,
couldn't be
yo.
in my apartment. So I would have to move. There's a
Wow.
whole bunch of things that's going to require. So these
Wow.
things that I want to do, a husband, that's not an easy process. I had been dating for a while, and that's on hold for now, by my choice. But like that was a
Mm.
whole process. It's not something. None of these things are quick. Even the friendships
Wow.
that I am growing. I've been back from Jamaica for almost 4 years now, and I am now gaining, like some close friends. I was here and knew a lot of people early on, and I was like, no, this is not my type of people. I just had certain standards, seriously.
I'm telling
So
you.
that has grown my loneliness, because the void that I have is not being filled because I refuse to just put anybody in it. I
I'm
just
telling
won't,
you.
I won't do that.
Yeah.
So, loneliness, there are seasons. I think everybody can experience it. There's nothing
Mm.
wrong with it. Um, I think what's so important though is to look at how you're trying to fill that.
Mm.
This is somebody who has been addicted to food, and that's, like another podcast we're going to talk about addiction, but
Mm.
you can fill those voids with things that are not healthy, and I have done that in the past. So
Mm.
the loneliness is a normal thing, man. And anybody can feel it, damn it.
Mm.
Oh, well, something I didn't want to talk about. I got a whole lot off my chest. I feel so much better. That
Yo, I'm telling you, I realize how much of
was
a
a good
douchebag I am.
idea, Grace. You are not a douchebag, because I wouldn't be
You
friends with
came
a
across
douchebag.
so lovely. Oh my goodness,
Uh-uh.
everyone deserves connection. I'm like, I hate people, they're trash, and I never want to meet anyone again.
But you don't really feel like that. It's
But
because you have been hurt in the past, and there are douchebags, in this world. Because you, as a
yeah.
friend, you're very lovely. You're caring. You're always asking me how I am. Meanwhile, when I get on a chat, Grace is always, hi, hun. Hi, darling. How are you doing today? And I'll be like, yeah, Grace. So we're talking about, like, whatever it is that I want to talk about. I go right into that joint. You're so caring. Like, you care
I
about my
know.
feeling. You are a
Stop trying to ruin my
you
reputation
yo,
with the
you
podcast
are a
people.
caring person. And plus, with my douche bag friend test, I would not have you as a friend if you were not a good one.
I'm
So
terrible.
yeah, nah,
I'm
son. No, you're
terrible.
not.
Do you
You
know?
are
Do you know
not.
why I say that?
Why?
Because I think first and foremost, no one should
I'd
get it
like to thank
twisted.
God.
I'm.
You know how he said, first and
What
foremost,
I
I
would
would like
like.
to thank God.
first,
Okay,
first
okay,
and
okay.
foremost, I would like to say my accent fools everybody. I'm naturally
Love your
polite,
accent.
right? I am very, very polite. That's why I
When
say,
you text me, it's
Rachel,
no accent to it. Okay, so
every single morning, I'm like, hi, Rachel, how
I
are you?
love
Good morning. What's
it.
going on? Rachel's like,
Yeah, I
all the stuff I want to say. She literally gives me like 500 sentences per hour. And I'm
it's
literally just like,
true.
what?
It's true.
Good morning to you too. And it's
Yes.
hilarious, right?
Horrible.
But that's where it ends, guys. Me being polite in my
Nah, you
introduction text
are
messages.
lying, yo.
I am
She's
awful.
straight lying. I am a
I'm awful.
great teller of character. That's so not true.
No.
So not
Do you know what it is? It's like you said, it's the giving of yourself and wanting that giving back. When, and I think probably with me, I've got to a point where I'm weary. I'm weary of the giving and not getting back
true.
what it is that
Aw.
I've given. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
I think that's what
absolutely.
it is, where it's just like, I
I
give,
am
you know what?
too.
I quit. I
Exactly.
quit.
That's exactly
I
where
don't
I
it.
am. That's exactly where
Yeah.
I am. I'm like, nah, I'm just tired of being in relationships where I'm the constant giver. So
Yeah.
the recognition of my loneliness is so obvious now, because it's
Yeah.
almost like most of the relationships that I have, I've been the giver. And I am
Yeah.
now like giving people the opportunity to either hang themselves with their own ropes, or come out and give me. And if you're
Mm.
not, then our relationship is in a disintegrating level because I'm not going to be the constant one. So that's
Yeah,
exactly where I am. And that the
for sure.
realization is painful. It's
Yeah,
absolutely painful. Oh my God. But it's
yeah.
necessary, and it's taken out the, how do you call it? The fog from my eyes. It's showing me everything. It's the
Mm.
truth of what the relationship has always been, as painful as that is. It's like, okay, this is what you looked at me as. Okay. Okay. I get it.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So it's one of those things where it's, for me, I quit. I've quit this job
But you're
of
a giver.
looking for
You're a
connections.
giver.
I
Like
am.
for
I'm a
me, you
giver.
are.
I
You're
can't
you're
help it.
giving of
But
yourself to me.
yeah, of course. But not everyone else. Like, I'm
No,
just like,
nor should anyone else have that, Grace. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
So where is it that you believe you've wronged here?
No,
How
I
are you
think
a
it's, you know what
douchebag?
it is? No, do you know why? Because I
Why?
constantly meet people who are expectant of me, of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
and
can walk down the street. I can walk down the street. My husband thinks it's the most hilarious thing. Well, nowadays, I think he just finds it annoying. I can go down the street and a random woman will just come up to me and start talking. A random
wow.
child will come up to me and start talking.
Oh,
A
that's
dog
so
will
cute.
come and literally just sit by me. I am that kind of a person where it's like, beforehand, he was like, "What is going on? Do you know that woman?" I'll be like, "No." "Do you know that guy?" I'm like, "No." "Do you know that kid?" "No, I don't." Right? And now he just understands, it's just, maybe it's my aura, my nature, or whatever. But we could be outside minding our own business. And a little antidote, let me tell you just a
Mhm.
real quick story before we end. I remember we went on our first date, and there's this cafe in central London called Cafe Rouge, and we was there, and there was this American guy who came to the UK. I think the NFL came to play. It was like an international game to play just outside of London, and he bought tickets and he came to view the game. But before going to the game, he came to the same restaurant to get some food, and we sat next to him. He was already at the restaurant before we got there, minding our own business. We sat down, ordered our food, ordered our drinks. This guy, not knowing me, not knowing my husband, um, literally would interrupt us in our conversation. This is our first date, to speak to me and offer me food.
Oh, he was trying to
He
get with
wasn't trying
you.
to, no, just normal conversation. This is an older gentleman
Oh, I
offering
see.
me food. Do you
I
see what I
see.
mean?
Yeah.
Just, and he was dining alone. He wasn't
Oh.
talking to my husband. He literally, obviously, he wasn't my husband at the time, but he wasn't talking to him. He was literally, "Hi, excuse me, would you like some potato? I have potatoes here. I have chicken here. I have meat here." Would you, like, just, he just wanted to talk. And I
Right.
realized those are the kind of people I constantly attract. Strangers in the middle of the street. I
Oh.
will literally be waiting for a train, and there'll be an elderly woman who just holds onto my arm, doesn't say
Oh.
anything, because she knows I'm going on a train, and just goes, she just looks at me and says, "Can you help me get on?" And I'm like, there are 50,000 people here, and you're coming directly to me. And it gets even more tricky and intense when it's people you are introduced to,
Yeah.
and then they suck everything out of you.
Yeah, you got to
You
protect
see what I
your
mean?
energy.
You need to
Yeah, you got to
protect your
protect
energy and
yourself.
your
Yeah.
spirit and everything.
Yeah.
That's why it becomes like, people put you on a certain level, and I don't want to say it's a pedestal, it's not, but people are so demanding of you,
I
and so
agree.
demanding on what you can offer them and what
I
they see in you,
agree.
whatever it is,
I
whether you can
agree.
see it or not. From a stranger, I accept it, because I know I'm never going to see you again.
Right.
If you need me to help you for something, I'm more than happy to. If
Right.
it's a kid, I can never say no to children. I
Right.
absolutely adore kids, right?
Right.
But if we've been introduced and we have this kind of communication and this superficial relationship, you expecting everything from me and you holding me accountable to these things that you will never do for me, and then getting mad when I'm like, no, when I'm trying to set boundaries, that's when I can't. Because old Grace would have been like, sure, of course, what do you need? What can I do for you? You know, you learn and you just go, nah, man, I
Well,
quit. I
believe
don't
it
want it.
or not, Grace,
I don't want the job.
that is how you learn through those like
Yeah.
situations, because I attract people as well. And I used to be like, so I used to be trusting of people, where now I give people
Yeah.
benefit of a doubt. But I used to be
Trust is a big word.
trusting of
Yeah.
people, and that is what would hurt me in the past, because I would be like, no, that person would never do that, because I'm thinking of them as myself. Now I'm like, I put
Familiar.
everybody on the same level, but I am
Mm.
vigilant. I am oh so
Yeah.
vigilant. So I don't jump in to do things with people. If we want to go out, sure, but I don't put any more expectation into it. And not only do I let the relationship develop organically, I also
Yeah.
do not put my all and expectation into it. And that's how I have grown to be like more protective and almost like more balanced in
Yeah.
that type of relationship, where
For
it's
sure.
like, okay, man, I really like this, and I'll take a risk. I still do take
Yeah.
risks, because I think when you've been hurt, it's hard for you to take a risk, and most people fall where they won't take a risk. I will still take a
Yeah.
risk, but
I don't.
that risk is where I learn. Because if I am willing to get hurt to learn what type of person
Mm.
that person is. To me,
Yeah.
that's the only way that you'll be able to truly get to the bottom of a real relationship. So
Hmm.
if you take a risk and that person turns out hurting your feelings, first of all, it was a
Hmm.
small risk, because as
Hmm.
you go along in relationship, the risks become bigger. So I'll take
Of
a
course.
small risk. What's a small risk? I will ask you if you want to go somewhere. I'll do that. I will ask you if you want to have a conversation. I will talk about something that is personal to me,
Yeah.
and I will observe how you behave, your reaction to me. That is what
Mm.
will tell me everything. So if
Mm.
you don't want to go, fine. I'm not hurt, but I won't ask you out again. You're going to have
Mm.
to be the one to do the asking again,
Wow.
the
I think
next
my
time.
sister's like that.
Or because you got to do certain risks. And what's the other thing? Like if I talk about something that's deep, and you give me like a surface level answer, I will look
Hmm.
out for that. If you give me, if I'm always the only one talking about something personal, like if you
Hmm.
don't aren't willing to share of yourself, I'll watch
Hmm.
that. So I won't introduce something about myself unless you do it next time. So those are
Hmm.
the things that will tell me, cuz like you can't be a punk, and it's I wanted to use another p word. You can, or you can't be a douchebag. I wanted to use another d
Yeah.
word. um
Yeah.
like you cannot be afraid to not risk something, because you're not going to find out the truth. You're either going to give up something that could have been awesome,
Yeah.
or you're going to give up something, yes, it could have been terrible, but you never really found out what that thing could have been, because you've
Hmm.
just got a wall. So you've got to give into something to be willing to get your feeling hurt. And then, if you're doing it in the beginning, it's a little thing, so you can move on. Like for
Mm.
me, like if I talk about, I don't know, um not loneliness, if I talk about something that's bothering me, and the person says, get over it, or like, oh, they want to hurry up and change the subject, that's all I needed.
Boy.
Yo, I'm good. You like, I'm good.
You
So
exposed
those
yourself.
Exactly. So that's what
That's what
you
they've
need
done.
to take those risks, so that person exposes themselves. And it's little bits. It's little. Well, I'm saying it's little because it's me, but it's like you don't need to go
Yeah.
major, is what I'm saying. You don't need someone
Yeah.
to betray you and
Yeah.
your whole life to suss out whether you want this person in your life at all. You can do it
Yeah.
with little things. And then you
Yeah.
can be like, oh yeah, not friend material,
Wow.
or friend material.
Taught me a lot.
Yeah. So like, with guys, ugh, that's a whole other subject, dating or whatever. But
Yo.
I think this was good. I didn't want to talk about this at all. I bared my soul right up on this here episode. There's a freedom to it. I feel free. I do feel better because I've talked about something that's been bothering me. Um,
Mm,
and then I had to have a dope discussion with Grace.
for sure. I had a fantastic conversation with Rachel.
Thank you so
And
much,
it's
Grace, for
like,
pushing this.
do you know what it is? I really like challenging ourselves because we had a different topic that we wanted to talk about. I was like,
Totally.
screw that. Screw that. Let's go
Are you
right to the
sure?
meat of
He's
it,
like,
to
are you
the
sure?
belly.
You sure you don't want to talk about loneliness? I was like, I'm sure.
He was like, no, Rachel literally was like, this is too raw for me right now.
Yes,
I was like, but this
that's
is where we
exactly.
have the best conversations. You're like, no. Like, what?
I'm like,
When is
don't
this
you
woman going
see?
to see? This is
Like,
literally like a
wow.
masterpiece. But
Oh my
yeah,
God. Well,
it didn't kill us.
no, it
We're right here.
didn't.
We made
It
it.
didn't. We did. We did.
You know.
And this helped a part of my loneliness too. Like this was a great addition to fill in. I heard myself laughing at the last
Yeah.
podcast. I was like, I gotta stop laughing like that. And I just did that laugh just now. It is like mad, no holds barred. Just
But
like,
that's the kind of laughter that you need. It's like real laughter is the one that comes from the belly,
yo,
you
that
know?
joint don't sound the best, but I mean, whatever. It sounds like, whoa. Like hold a piece of your tonsil in for the next time you need it.
No way.
A whole
No
throat.
way. You need to let loose for
Yeah.
sure. You need to let loose. But that's the end of that. I'm not going to be like Forrest Gump, but that's all I have to say about that,
Well, this
essentially.
was dope.
Um,
This was this was great. It was great. Um, so this has been episode 6 of Soul Speak, which is awesome. I'm very excited that we have made it this far. Uh, more to come on
mm,
raw topics, that we may or may not want to talk about, whatever.
yeah.
My Instagram is Rachel, the Sassy Rachel. And I do poetry, and I'm working on some things. Some of them are stagnant right now, some of them are going, but as they come out, I'll talk about them. And you, Grace?
Yeah, My Twitter is at Grace underscore Kugrena. And you can find me there. I just tweet about nonsense. There's nothing much going there.
I don't
I'm
even
literally
go on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter app. I don't have a Twitter handle. I don't have a Twitter anything. But I would totally have followed you next
no,
time
for
I get on
sure.
Twitter.
You would see how much of a douchebag I am. So join me on my Twitter because my thoughts are insane.
That's hilarious.
And my Instagram is at the underscore reading underscore hideout, and I write kidlit, for your
Kidlit.
kids. Yes, children from the ages
Literature
of
for children.
5. Yes, literature for children. Thanks for clarifying.
Just
She's
be sure.
ruined my whole promo. She's ruined my whole promo.
I love her
Yes.
books. I've read both.
Kidlit. So yes, children from the ages of 5 to 9. I do picture books and working on 2 projects simultaneously. I don't know how I'm doing it because I can't multitask. So I don't know
That's
how I am
hilarious.
doing any of these things. But for my work that's already been self-published, you can find that on Amazon and Kindle. There are links there. On my Instagram, there is insight of my work, so you can be able to see that too. And you can just follow me for some fun memes and jokes and
Well, I
videos as well.
follow you there on Instagram. I think one day we should talk about how we met, Grace.
Yes, we
Yes.
actually should. That's a great
Yes.
story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
So you guys can, you know, kind of
See
like
what's behind this wonderful chemistry
wink wink.
debating. Yeah. So thanks
So yeah.
again. Thanks, Grace. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank
Talk
you,
to
public and
you
audience.
again. Yes. Bye.
Bye.